Okay, and that's it. Hey, everybody. How you doing? And happy Boxing Day and Merry Christmas out there. It is December 26th, 2020, and we're here to talk about Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 11, Su'Kal, which is over and has been over for 2 days. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews, and I got two great co-hosts to talk to you about this episode tonight. We got Adam Woodward. How you doing tonight, Adam? Happy Boxing Day. Merry Christmas.
Happy Boxing Day. I'm doing great.
And we have Michael Chan. How you doing, Michael?
I am good, but extremely tired. I am one tired daddy.
Well, hey, we appreciate you staying up late and burning the midnight oil, the Hanukkah lamp oil, if you will, here for the special holiday edition of Star Trek Discovery. And also joining us, we have my brother Jeff, who does not watch the show or know what's going on, but
hey,
he's got a new microphone, so he's looking to podcast.
I have a new microphone, and I figure I might as well test it out on a show I haven't watched.
Nice. You know, if I knew I didn't have to watch the episode, I wouldn't have been late.
You're like, great, I'll be right on time for that podcast. Oh, wait, I have to watch this episode. But you did watch the episode. We all did, except for Jeff. And we're here to talk about it. And I got to tell you, this was a really fun episode. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I think there were some great moments. I think in particular, Tilly, was great in this episode, but there's a lot more to it than that. So, Michael, what did you think?
I loved it. I loved the whole thing. And although there was one thing I thought was interesting was Michael Burnham was like, oh, Saru and his emotions. He might do something brash. And I'm like, really, Michael? Really?
I said the same thing. I was watching it with Jane this morning, and I said, "Wait, no, that's your move, Michael Burnham. You're the one who gets emotional and is non-objective and can't kind of remember what you're supposed to do." And I think she's almost throwing shade at Saru here. They have this sibling rivalry, and I think it's a little hyperbolic.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. It was just an interesting. For the writing, I was like, it's an interesting choice to have her be the one who becomes concerned, considering everything we know about her, right?
Mm-hmm. But on the other note, I think that Michael Burnham was and Sonequa Martin Green in that role was particularly good tonight. Actually, I'm not always a fan of her, but I thought she was really strong in this episode. Let's go to Adam. Adam, how are you feeling about Su'Kal?
This should be a two-parter. It should be called a two-parter to me.
I think it is. Is it not?
It's not part one, part two, like the last two episodes.
It's not titled as such, no. Although we even said that Terra Firma part 1 and part 2 didn't truly feel like a true two-parter. It kind of is, and it kind of isn't. The two previous episodes before this, but yeah, like this ends on a cliffhanger. There's a lot. The headline at this hour.
Every other episode this season here, I've been pretty, feeling really good about the episode now. After the cliffhanger, thinking, oh my God, this is actually concern now. What's going to happen?
Yeah, they feel like this is dire, man. Like really dire. This one.
And Jeff, just to fill you in, because I know you're kind of probably not sure what we're saying, but so what happened tonight was that the crew of the Discovery, who's been reintegrated in the 32nd century back into Starfleet, they've been sent on this mission because they're kind of trying to figure out what caused the burn. The burn was this event 120 years prior to this new time period that they're in, where all the dilithium ignited, every ship with an active warp core exploded. Dilithium was already starting, the supplies were already starting to deplete anyway before this event, and this just made it worse. And it kind of killed space travel for a long time, and still has. So they're on a mission to kind of find.
Wait. So I just have one question: is the Discovery the only ship in the 32nd century that gave ability to do space travel?
No, but dilithium, it's the only ship with a spore drive. It's a unique technology that no one else has because it was destroyed and classified and buried 900 years ago. So now in this timeline, it's an extremely valuable commodity. And it's also what is kind of what this episode is tonight, because this villain, they're the Emerald Chain. They're kind of the modern day Orion Syndicate. They are an alliance of Orions and Dorians, who are pirates effectively. They're antagonistic to the modern day Federation. And
Dave.
Oh my God, I didn't freeze.
Wow. Yeah, it's
It
not
was
you
him.
this time.
Do you know what? I got a booster. He gave me a booster for Christmas, so I don't have a problem anymore. So it should be good.
You probably took it from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you have his
Yeah.
booster.
Well, I have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Okay, so immediately when they come into the 32nd century, Dave was kind of alluding to like the spore drive is valuable.
Mhm.
Are there like kind of like pirates in
Yeah.
this century that are
They
kind of like
make enemies.
Okay.
One very big enemy in a lady named Osira, and she runs the Emerald Chain, which is essentially like evil mafia syndicate and thing. And in this episode, she finds them. She chases them down.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Michael Burnham does. You mean?
Oh no, Osira chases down the
Oh,
Discovery.
Osira.
She finds them, the Discovery and their crew.
But she's
Okay,
very
and they
much
were
like
hiding
a-
from. They were sorry to interrupt you, Adam. I just quick question: were they hiding from Osira? Like, were they like jumping around on the spore drive
trying
and
to
stuff?
well, they weren't really hiding, but they were keeping away from her in
Yeah,
a
they
way.
had run-ins with her before.
Because the
Gotcha.
Federation, though depleted, I mean, the ship is essentially protected by the Federation. I don't think Osira really wanted to go after the Federation itself to get the ship, but now the ship in this episode is on its own, so she decided to go after them today.
She was like, you know what? Today's the day.
Today's the day. Hi, Dave. Welcome back.
yeah,
Dave.
sorry, I'm not sure where I cut off there. I was you all froze in from my perspective. So
Oh,
Yeah, so
did
that's
you
what it's like for me.
give Jeff
But-
your booster? Is that what
Yeah,
happened?
you need a booster now. I got to get you a booster.
I have a booster. It's
We thought maybe you gave yours to Jeff.
Mhm.
I gave mine to Jeff. Yeah,
Yeah, he regifted.
Where were we? Where was the conversation going?
We were just talking about Osira and like why she was going. Today was the day she was going after the Discovery. The Discovery seems to be like kind of like this unicorn in a different time that is very valuable. That's what I'm getting the gist of, right?
Mhm.
Yes, these pirates want it. They want the spore drive. Why wouldn't they? It's like a very experiment. It takes you anywhere you want
Hi, Jane.
in the universe. Jane's saying this is her favorite episode of the season. So good. And I think, I agree. And I think what made this episode so good was it this mystery in the world that they go into, this nebula, and we meet the title character of this episode, Sukal, this 120-year-old Kelpian who's been sort of on his own since before the burn, living basically in a holodeck, all this time with no other people, no other real people, just holodeck characters that have tried to keep this person's sanity. And so that the away team is Michael Burnham, Dr. Culber, and Saru himself. They all go because Saru's a Kelpian, and this is a Kelpian who they're investigating and trying to find and rescue. And so, but once they get there, they all turn into different species. In Saru's case, he turns into a human. So for Doug Jones, he just didn't do makeup that day. Here, I got a picture of them here. Where they got? So here you can see them.
What's
They saved
Burnham
a tiny
did.
bit of money there since they
Michael
blew
Burnham
their
is
book on
a-
everything else.
she's a trill.
Yeah.
In
And
this
what's homeboy behind Michael Burnham? What's his
Culber is a Bajoran.
Bajoran,
Bajoran? And he's normally a what?
human.
Human.
Well, that's a downgrade.
And Doug
Dude, you
Jones
get
as a
earring.
human, or I mean Saru as a human. I don't know. I think he looks more normal as an alien sometimes. I think there's a reason
Yeah.
he plays these guys, but That's just, I'm not kidding aside. That whole world, everything about that, it was so cinematic. It was so like incredibly imaginative. And some stuff with holodecks that I don't think we've seen in Star Trek yet.
No,
Really.
it reminded me a lot of the Scarecrow's, I guess, level in Batman, the first Batman Arkham Asylum game. I don't know if you guys have ever played that. There's like a huge boss battle with Scarecrow, and because Batman's all drugged up, and yeah, like this is what it felt like. It was like a combination of that and something out of like a Lovecraft novel, because like that Kelpian monster was kind of like a Cthulhu-esque Lovecraftian beast, and so it's like it works because the kid, is going a little crazy, right? It's the whole thing.
Yeah, Sukal himself. Yeah, it was an interesting, like the hollow world and everything else, and they have this mission and it's time sensitive because they have to get out in 4 hours or the radiation's going to kill them, and but yet they have to sort of navigate this world. And on the other side, you have Tilly, who has recently become the first officer. She's the number one. Yeah. She's put in this position where she's in command, and they kind of talk about earlier before the away team goes off that Osira, the Emerald Chain, that they want Discovery, that they've actually attacked Saru's homeworld, the homeworld of the Kelpians, Kaminar, to almost to goat Discovery into a fight. And we see here that this is also kind of a ploy, even like that Osira has put on here. But Tilly's going to have to figure this all out, and she's still an ensign, right? She's still kind of fresh out of the academy. We've got a couple of years under her belt, but there are other officers around her that are more experienced, outrank her. But they believe in her. Everyone believes in her, and I think I believe in her too. Like I think that Tilly handled this as well as she could have, given the circumstances of how they wrote it. Right tonight, I thought there was her showdowns, her sparring with Osira. Like
Osira was great there. He was trying to goad her, intimidate the crap out of her, and you could see it, and she just gave it right back, and that was great to see. Again, I had my doubts about Captain Tilly or First Officer Tilly, but I like this side of her that can stand up to the bad guys.
Wait. Who's the captain?
Well, Saru's the captain now.
He's off the ship. He's off the ship right now.
But he was on the away. He was on the away team. He was on the mission. So
you're telling me Tilly is running the ship?
She's first officer, so she's running. Yeah, she's left in command.
Is she capable?
Well, this is the first time she's ever been tested, right? Like she just became the first officer.
So far, she seems to be.
And this is the first time, like, the captain's away, and she has to run it by herself.
She also loves the ship guys here right now. Like, no offense, but she did lose the ship.
Yeah, it doesn't go her way here. And
why. So I mean, Jane's right. It doesn't go like the other episodes this season. We didn't have I didn't feel good at the end. Usually I feel like really positive, and this is a great show. But man, I this was a tough ending today. And now let's get to next week. I'm glad I watched it today, only about 5 days ago.
True. So, yeah. Well, just like at the end of Best of Both Worlds Part 1, where like Locutus the Boar comes onto screen, you're like, uh-oh. And this is kind of what this felt like tonight, because they what happens at the end of this is they steal the Discovery, right? Like, and it's even more dire because Saru and Culber, they stay behind to talk to Sukal. And the other big headline is Sukal, this Kelpian, is the cause of the burn. He is a genetically modified Kelpian that is somehow because his DNA had to adapt to survive all this radiation. His anger caused the burn. Reactions to that,
strong reaction. I don't know, like at least in the past, which reaction, but it seems because today wasn't really anger, right? When we saw it was fear. No,
it was fear. Yeah, it was basically if his emotions, if his get high enough, if his threat ganglia get going enough, maybe he can cause a galactic event of cataclysmic destruction. Apparently,
I was thinking about the future use of him if he survives the next 2 episodes. I'm like, so wait, if he's linked to dilithium and that's a planet of dilithium, so assuming they're able to bring some back, can he use his emotions to propel ships?
Perhaps. Adam, how did you feel about this whole this whole season's been about the mystery of the burn?
Yeah,
right?
this is the only thing that's kind of bothered me is like that's it. Really?
Yeah, I kind of share the feeling because I'm like, okay, so what happened? This one individual somehow became so powerful that because again, the burn it's no small thing. It's a pretty big thing. It
So
all
what?
dilithium
I have
destroyed.
a question. Sorry to interrupt you, but what is like the burn? Was like this event, or was it more like a slow burn?
No, it
No,
was a fast
it's
burn.
an event.
It was an event, and so something blew up, and then like was it like an electromagnetic pulse that went through all space, and or something like that, or was
Something
more-
like that. Basically, in
Yeah.
an instant, in like a fraction of a second, all dilithium in the galaxy. I'm not clear if it's the galaxy or the entire universe, but it's all of it exploded at once, and every ship with an active warp core.
Right. And it's actually decimated the Federation.
but like just the Federation, or also like
Well,
the
no,
Klingon
but everybody.
Empire, like all,
Federation was
everybody.
pretty big.
Everybody
So
with a
the-
work for.
Yeah, and
Was the
everyone.
Federation kind of controlling things in the Alpha Quadrant by that time? Were they kind of like the big dog?
From what we gathered is that by the time of like the burn, the Federation had kind of absorbed everybody. Like everybody had, like even the Romulans had joined the Federation by this point, right? And the Cardassians and everybody. But then when the burn happened, it kind of set the galaxy back to like kind of the old West, right? Back to sort of really almost pre-warp conditions in a lot of cases, where you're kind of limited to your sector or a series of, maybe just a couple nearby sectors, because dilithium is such a finite resource now. And I think that's what the writing team has been, why they've introduced this burn, why they've been talking about dilithium, because dilithium is a finite resource. It was always positioned as such. And I think that the spore drive is an example of renewable energy. And it's supposed to maybe as an allegory to common, like modern day environmental climate change concerns, whatever.
And Jeff, the other part of that too is because it's such a valuable commodity. You've got your mafia, Osira, the Green Emerald Chain, that's their primary focus, is to gather as much dilithium as possible, refine it, and get it out there for huge dollars, and they control it.
Right. Because it's a supply and demand. Your scarcity drives up the market. And spore drives are a whole game changer. But why can't every ship? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and when Michael Burnham came to the future, she kind of made it her mission to try to solve it. And this season, we watched the mystery slowly get solved, and they narrowed it down to basically where they went this episode. There's a ship there with one survivor, and crashed onto a dilithium planet.
Right. Like in this nebula that's full of radiation.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think the fact that I liked Sukhal, I liked everything that was going on in the ship, but I'm kind of sharing this thing like, really, he's the cause of the burn? How the hell does that work? So he made dilithium explode on the other side of the galaxy because he got upset. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, but whatever.
It sounds like to me like the writers wanted to just like have this burn and make it kind of mysterious and cool. And then once you got the answer, kind of like in Lost, or when anything's mysterious, once they give you the answer, it's never going to be what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, lack of payoff.
Well, this is I was completely worried about this sort of episode that would take us down a little bit, and I think we've hit it finally. That's okay. We got to 10.
Because I feel like it's enough of a bounce. Like, if that's my lowest point tonight, like in this episode, then that's fine. Because
right. I mean, we've had a lot of ups in this show, and this is just sort of we'll see where it goes next week. But
yeah, for me, that it didn't bother me. What will bother me is if they finally explain it and there's nothing more. So this is it's the cliffhanger is more than just what happened at the end of the episode, right? For me, there's like a double cliffhanger of trying to fully explain the burn in my mind, because they never did. and then what happened at the end.
Well, it seems like the burn. If this is the answer that we will stick, then the burn is basically a freak accident. Like, is what it boils down to, right?
Well, at least no one's responsible.
Not really. Not
No, I'm just saying it's the most humane way of solving this, so that no one can blame anybody, and we can go back to peace ish.
True.
Although we come away with a superpowered adult baby.
Yeah, over a century old.
Yes.
But yeah, like I feel like this episode it has a lot of strengths. It stands alone as kind of its own episode, like all of these episodes have. Although they're part of this bigger story of season 3. I think that the character development and this crew as a family continues to build. Like we talked about Tilly. There was also some good moments tonight with like Culber and Stamets saying goodbye to each other.
And Adira, that whole thing.
Adira and Gray.
That was great.
Which started off the episode. Gray returns to, and Adira, they aren't too happy about it.
I have a question. Georgiou is still, the mirror Georgiou is still on their ship, right?
No, she just left last week.
She is gone.
She left? Where'd she go?
She had to go back in time because she traveled universes and timelines. So she was dying of like this weird disease. So she had to kind of go back in time to sort of
the Guardian of Forever was last episode, and she basically went through it to fix
the Guardian of Forever showed up, Jeff, but it's Paul Guilfoyle from CSI.
I just all right. Did they never think? All right, the Discovery crew, regardless of Georgiou, who apparently had an illness and had to go back in time, did they never think, hey, let's go to the mirror universe and go get the dilithium from there?
They couldn't, because they wrote it in that the mirror universe has been diverging from the prime universe for about 500 years. So there hasn't been a crossover in that time. Like the universes by the 32nd century.
Yeah. So that's why Georgiou was having problems, because she jumped the universe, then jumped time. And so her molecules, her quantum signature was all messed up because she's in the wrong time, and her universe is really far away now. So she's just not existing properly in I guess the prime universe. So unless she goes back in time, she's going to basically fall apart.
She kept phasing in and out.
Yeah, do they follow her after she goes through the portal, or is that just the end of her and see you later?
That's the end of her in this show. There's rumors about where she's going to end up next.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they were always going to do this Section 31 show with Michelle Yeoh and Section 31, and I think when somewhere in season 2, they're like, we need to like reboot this Discovery show. It's not working right now. And hence we got this whole new timeline, and they brought her along for it. But we were talking about it early in this season, like as Michelle Yeoh, her character, the Mirror Georgiou, continued episode, we're like, wait, where does she fit in here? How is she going to integrate in this crew? And ultimately she didn't. They wrote her out of the show, and there's talk that show will still happen, a Section 31 show. And I personally do not need that show. With this Mirror Georgiou, but if it happens, it happens. It's just more Star Trek, and how can I really complain? But
well, it all depends how they do it. Section 31 could be really interesting, especially if they do the origins of it or something.
I would love to see. Personally, I don't need it, but if it happens, I definitely want to watch it. Like I'm excited about it.
Take it from a guy that just watched Wonder Woman 1984. That wasn't something we needed, and it wasn't great. But well, it was blah. It was
movie.
What's that?
It's my movie for tomorrow.
Well, enjoy. You like the first one? You're gonna look. It's the same movie. I mean, really, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Okay. Where was I on this? Wonder Woman 84.
Back
Okay,
to the episode.
back to the episode. Yeah,
Back
so we
to Sukal.
and just on the Section 31 thing, I like Section 31 as a concept. It's one of the better, interesting things to come out of Deep Space Nine. It's interesting to me that the new modern writers, like especially Kurtzman, keep gravitating onto it. Oh yeah, there's this dark side of the Federation. It's called Section 31. They're the clandestine group that does everything that they go against everything the Federation stands for in the name of the Federation, and they love it. And with the way they used it in season 2 of this show, I think was a disservice to the concept because they made it way too mainstream. Pike knows what it is. Like when Buddy, what's his name? The guy who, who I mean, the guy who was the Section 31, Leland, right? In season 2, he shows up and you're like, who is this guy? And like he's kind of a benevolent character until he gets assimilated by Control, but it's just not the right use of the character. They also used it into Star Trek Into Darkness. I know Adam, you like that movie, so but the way that they've used this as a concept, I think needs refinement. That's all.
It's the CIA of Star Trek, but secret. Like that's what it is.
More
I'm
clandestine.
hoping
And
for
so
some,
they
like,
can
Mission
do-
Impossible action, man.
Yeah, you can do like a Jason Bourne or a Mission Impossible style Star Trek with
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I think it made sense. Oh, a mirror universe character. How easy to slot them into Section 31? I guess if it's done right, if the writing's good, and I think that the writing this season has taken a dramatic uptick. Like I think we see it each episode, not just in the way it looks, but in the way it's written, the way that the dialogue's going. There's not a lot of these kind of like moments that take us out of the episode as much as I found in previous seasons. But we were kind of and how that this crew keeps building, right? So we talked about Gray was back, Gray Tall, the previous host of the Tall symbiote, who seems to be a ghost in the mind of Adira. And they kind of they talk it out, and Adira forgives Gray because Gray's like, well, I can't interact with the world, so that's why I did what I did.
Yeah.
It's you, not me.
It's you. Yeah, it was me, not you. Sorry. And Adira's like, okay, like whatever. Michael, do you like the Gray persona? Is this storyline? Is this do you feel like this is servicing the Adira character, or is
I think having Gray is an interesting way to explore the inner conflict that this young person is going through. I almost feel like it's a metaphor. Is that the right word to use here? A metaphor for the confusion that a lot of people in our world, not in Star Trek, are going through in trying to sort out their own identity. Because if we are to understand the actor, Adira's actor, sorted themselves out and came out right during the show. And gave their pronouns. So in a way, having Gray here to kind of talk for them to talk to and talk out there and sort out themselves, the Adira character, not the actor, it is interesting, and it may be a good thing to have on a mainstream show for people who are kind of in those that kind of situation in their real lives, to see that this is an accepted thing, if that makes sense.
It does. So I think that there's like this real life allegory to trans and non-binary and all these other things. And then like it's interesting because Jeff and I are doing the Deep Space Nine rewatch series right now, and in season 2 of Deep Space Nine, we're dealing with a lot of like Jadzia Dax's backstory, the Trill, and what the Trill represent, and they're continuing to add to the mythology of the Trill in Discovery. And they're two very different things. And like what I think what the Trill was as a concept in the 1990s to how it's being applied in this show is an evolution, I think. Not maybe an improvement, I think. Maybe
I wanted to add that the whole Adira and Stamets thing, I thought took a very good step forward today when Stamets was like, Hugh and I come together. We're a unit because they're establishing them, I feel, as a family, right? You have the two parents, the parental figures in Stamets and Kolber, right? And then you have essentially their child, Adira, who's going through something, self-discovery, at which point the parent is saying, I accept you, because that's when Stamets looked at, he doesn't see Gray, but he's like, hello, talk to Gray and acknowledge the existence and is okay with it, and then walked away to let Adira
but
talk
also
to Gray.
actually,
It's a very parental thing.
very parental in the whole comment. If I could see you, I would, give you a piece of my mind. Whatever he said, it was something, comical but dad-like.
Yeah, exactly. I felt it was a good moment, a very good moment for me to see.
It was also important.
Adam, just your microphone's a little hollow. I don't know if you.
Sorry, I'm gonna step forward.
Better, yeah. You're just it's a little bit.
What I was saying there was, it was very, very parental and very dad-like, but it was also important because that scene was also on the tail end of Giorgio's wake. Where the whole crew was coming together. So, if you remember, she was welcomed in, this is for you. This is you. You're part of this. It's not just the family. It's the crew.
Yes.
And, pretty cool how they brought her in. And, and she's not annoying and she's not a Wesley Crusher. She's very much, I think, a valuable crew member at this point. Want to know more about her?
Yeah, I think Adira is one of the better additions to this cast this season. I think also I want to talk about Book and Book's role in this episode as the other special new cast member here. But yeah, before we move on from Adira, I think Adira, like we talked about, is this Adira and Stamets like mentor and student? Is it more father-child? And how does Culber play into it? I think we've kind of answered the question tonight or in this episode that they are kind of like a new family, a modern family, if you will. They're also the and you throw in Jet Reno, and you have the LGBTQ sort of community on Discovery as well, sort of as being represented, which is I think really fun. I think that there's a lot of dynamics to this crew, which I think they should continue to add on, because the more we care about this crew, the more we're going to care about what happens to them. And like tonight, like what's going to happen next? We're all kind of on the edge of our seat. I also just want to talk about this whole thing with Book, because so when they get to the crash site and they can't fly through this crazy radiation and all this stuff, but Book has his smaller ship, which doesn't have a name still, right? It's just Book's ship.
Yeah,
it's the coolest ship ever.
It's the coolest. It morphs into weird shapes and
ship. I love it.
And yeah, it just can move around and turn into different things. And he was starting to bleed and whatever. Why did he take the cat though? Because when he gets through that little mission where he has to fly through the radiation cloud, him and his cat have to get a radiation poisoning treatment. And I thought he could have left that cat on the ship.
I don't think he had enough time to make that decision. Grudge was already on the ship.
You can't make a cat do anything, so
you can't make it. This is the big cat Grudge, Jeff, that continues to be part of season 3 of Discovery. It is.
I had a question because I was looking at the stills for this episode. I'm like, what is up with the cat? So what is up with the cat? Whose cat is this? Why is this cat important?
This is Book's cat.
Who?
Book? Okay.
Michael Burnham's boyfriend.
Yeah, this is this guy here on the right. This is Book, and he's been a new character on the show. So he's kind of like a civilian. He's Michael Burnham's love interest. He's from this century, and he has his own little smaller ship that fits in the shuttle bay of the Discovery. And he kind of serves as sort of like this advanced scout / specialist character to the crew who can kind of do different things. And he's kind of a unique, he's an interesting character to have on the show. I think he brings a different vibe to this crew. And the way that they're using him, I think is good. But he also has this big friggin' cat that they take with them. And it's apparently from the Niagara region. I believe there's 2 cats playing this role.
Oh.
But we also toyed with the idea that does he want to be part of the crew?
Yeah.
And I think more and more, I don't know if he exactly wants to be part of the crew, but he certainly likes to help out. Jump in where he can.
He definitely
looks
cared.
like-
I mean,
He
he put his life on the line tonight.
he certainly looks like Blade. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
He's not,
He's rocking the leather jacket. He's got the crop top haircut. I mean, give him fangs, and you got your new
He
Blade.
plucked him right out of Supergirl. I think it was the last time we saw this actor, and I think he was literally wearing the same thing. So
Really?
yeah,
he's a British actor, I believe, right?
he is. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's really good. I think, he believes in the Federation. Like, kind of, Michael Burnham has made him a believer in sort of like what the ideals of the Federation Starfleet are about, and so he's becoming a believer, and so he's either going to become a full member of Starfleet, or he's going to be sort of an ally to the crew, or a supplementary one. You know, he's replaced what's his name from season 1, the Vok. What's his name? Tyler. Oh, what a memory of Tyler, who I think is a great actor, but just that storyline had to die. So, now we have Book in the show, and I think Book's a much better character for this show in comparison. Okay, so we talked about his whole thing and coming in, and then just that we saw after Admiral Vance kind of calls to talk about, hey, you found a planet full of dilithium? That's fun. The Federation's going to, really be happy about that. But was it just a fake, or was there really a planet of dilithium? That was the part I was unclear about. Was this a trick by Osira, or was the planet of dilithium real?
I think the planet's real.
I think that the planet is real. Yeah.
Okay. I think you're right about that. I just wasn't quite sure if it was part, because when Osira shows up, they think it's a Federation ship, but it's not. And that it's a little too perfect that there's a planet of dilithium here, but it is where
I feel like the explanation he gave for how Osira found them seems not like the speculation on how she found them seemed a little weak. I'm wondering if there's more to that, something we don't know yet.
Yeah, and they're like, well, how would she even get here? And because it's way out there. Again, dilithium's hard to come by, and without a spore drive, it takes long times to get places. And they say, well, there's a trans warp hub here, like conveniently that the Borg left a long time ago, and so she might have used that if she was crazy. Apparently, she was crazy enough to try it. So that's she.
What I mean is, we might find out there's something going on. I don't know, a mole or just something. I feel like, remember the other episode? They Book brought on Emerald Chain technology, right? Remember that? And they were saying, this stuff could be dangerous. And he's like, no, trust me, it's okay. I'm actually kind of wondering if that's how she found them. That she's been tracking the Emerald Chain technology that Book brought on and thought was safe, when in reality it wasn't.
There was also that character, the Andorian. Do you remember him?
Yeah,
I can't remember his name right now, but he was.
Yeah.
Is he still on the ship? I forgot.
So, yeah, I think he was dumped off on the Federation. Whatever.
Unless
I think they brought him back to headquarters. I don't think he's still on the ship, although we don't see Jet Reno for many weeks, and then we find out she's still on the ship. So it's possible he's there. And
I just think there's more to how Osira found them than what we're getting, and I feel like we'll find out next episode.
I think you could quite be right about that, because it was just a little bit like, how did they got such an amazing drop on the crew at the worst possible time, and like everything just kind of fell into place there. But as we were moving through this episode, we talked about Grudge and sick bay and Dr. Tracy Pollard, who is the other doctor on this show, who sometimes I'm like, do we need 2 doctors on this show? Is Culber not got enough to do?
Well, they need a backup doctor just in case one of them.
Doctor. Who's McCoy's backup doctor?
We don't even know.
We don't even know.
There probably was one.
Nurse Ratchet.
He got, I remember McCoy, in the Kelvin universe. McCoy was promoted because the doctor was killed, the head doctor.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I guess Crusher had Dr. Solar. So I guess
that's right. And the Voyager crew just literally had no doctor.
Tom Paris was the backup doctor.
Yeah, Tom Paris, who never wanted to be there.
Right.
Well, what about Ket? He was also the backup doctor.
Kind of, and Bashir never had a backup.
That's true. Bashir really should have. I mean, he's on a
True.
station.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that's a station, not a ship, though.
There's always ships there, so he's always got a backup doctor. Somebody
Yeah.
can come in.
A lot of doctors.
There's always
on
doctors
board.
coming in, coming out. Yeah.
Doctor, do you concur?
I just remember when Jadzia died, and they're wearing all the red, you know,
The
They're
red
like
scrubs.
the red scrubs. I always was like, that's so Star Trek. Why would they wear red?
In the mirror universe. Just before, so we talked about everything else. We talked about there was the scene with Adira, and there was Culber saying goodbye to Stamets, because we get quite a few of these scenes where it's either Culber or Stamets has to go on dangerous mission, and then we get obligatory scene with Culber and Stamets like saying goodbye to each other. I get it, but we do it a lot on this show. It's fine. It's fine. They would say goodbye.
Maybe Dave, there just wasn't enough of it on Next Gen, because they were all families and everything.
Yeah, but we didn't have not every time Ben Sisko had to go on a dangerous mission did he have to have a heart-to-heart with Jake. And so
every morning he just left their cabin, and you just go, I might never see you again, and you just never saw that scene.
That's true. It's all good. They never miss a chance.
I forgot to bring my eggnog. I was going to make a joke about drinking nog. You just reminded me. But never mind.
But that would be funny, Michael. I would have liked that.
Captain Nog.
Yeah,
Captain Eggnog. I just want to talk about that whole scene that was between Burnham and Tilly, when Tilly's like, "Oh man, I got to be in command while Saru's away, while you and Saru go on this mission," and Michael tells a story. She's like, when I was first put in command by Georgiou, the original Prime Georgiou on the Shenzhou, I used to always flicker my finger on this little imperfection that was on the captain's chair that Georgiou would. It was some kind of defect from the Utopia Planitia fleet yards or whatever. And Saru does the same thing, and we see that Tilly is doing the same thing in this episode. It's kind of like a nervous tick, but I thought that this was a really good scene. I thought like these two friends, this mentor relationship that's existed, this growth that we're seeing out of Tilly. I liked everything about it. Did you guys feel the same?
Oh yeah, no, I liked it very much. Thought it was an interesting device that they put in the manufacturing defect in San Francisco with the nub underneath the arm of the chair. It was a good moment for me.
A metal burr, a little metal burr,
a nub.
Adam,
I think it really shows again. I mean, since the beginning, they've really focused on Tilly and developing her character into a leader. And I said earlier today, she's done a good job so far. I think I made the comment about four episodes ago where she was just sort of the comic relief, but she's beyond that now, and it's I quite like her. I quite like the character. I quite like the leadership she's got, and I was watching the preview before the show, and you're acting first officer. I bet you she's not after this episode.
Yeah, no, like she's. Like, who else would there be? Now, there was some hint. We didn't talk about this in our last podcast, but right before Mirror Georgiou walked off into the Guardian of Forever and into the sunset, she said, "Hey, you're a captain too, Michael. You should be the captain." And we kind of thought that Michael Burnham, before Saru ended up becoming the captain, that Michael Burnham maybe would be the captain. Is that something that we will see down the road? She is the lead of this show. And so I'm trying to kind of, not that has to be the captain character, but I keep coming back to it. Even the first episode set that up, right? With Prime Georgiou saying like, you're ready to be a captain of your own, Michael. And
I don't think we'll see Michael Burnham as a captain unless Saru is dead or gets his own ship, a different ship. Otherwise, I just don't. any other reason for him to leave, I feel is almost a disservice to the character. So it's dead or other shit for me. So that's the only way Michael Burnham is the captain of Discovery, unless she gets her own ship. Adam, is Dave frozen for you?
Dave is frozen.
Okay.
But we can continue.
So that's just how I feel. I feel like it wouldn't be right to have Saru leave for other reasons. I just feel like it's either give him his own ship or he's dead. But I don't want him to die. So give him his own ship.
But wait, this show is kind of confusing in a way, because like the main character is this character that it'd be like if Riker was the main character of TNG. We kind of at a certain point kind of go like, oh really? But at the same time, like it's different with this dynamic. But like Saru, like he's kind of like the boring by the book Spock. It'd be like if Spock was the captain, the main character. Would the show work? Would it work?
It's been working this season with him as captain. Yeah. He's great. He's come a long way, man.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, okay, like what Star Trek has always done is with the original series, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, even Enterprise, the main character is always the captain. Saru's not the main character of the show, right? You guys all agree that?
Yeah, but the way they've written it works.
Leonard Nimoy of this show,
right.
But Sonequa Martin Green is the William Shatner of the show, but not the captain.
But even then, we have multiple strong characters in this show versus other ones. I think they've done a pretty good job in really distributing that the star power almost across the board. Because Michael Burnham is the star character, but she's not always the star character. I mean, Michelle Yeoh was very strong.
All of these Star Trek casts are ultimately ensemble, right? But
sure,
each of those ensembles, there's sort of like an alpha, a leader, and it's traditionally always been the captain character. They've flipped convention here for this show, and made it and Lower Decks is another challenge to that, where the captain is not the main character, but a prominent character still in the show. And it's kind of like, how will this experiment play out? How it's ultimately going to come down to how this show ends, I think. Will we see is the end of the show Michael Burnham finally becoming a captain? Maybe. Maybe that's what this whole journey of the show is.
You're right.
Of their maturity. That's seeming more and more likely.
Book is an officer, how's he going to play into it too? We've got him still to deal with.
Yeah.
Who's that? Book. Well, we'll see. I don't know. Is Book? I think Book's like an experiment in himself as a character. Is he going to endure past season 3? I think the answer is yes. I think that they definitely will keep this character around, but I don't think they knew when they started this season or when they wrote most of these episodes. Ultimately, does this guy stick around with us? Will he join Starfleet? I think it's ultimately going to come down to how the audience reacts. They're going to listen to what we think, and I think that if we like him, which I think at least this panel does, we'll see a lot more of him. Okay, so I want to keep moving through the episode because we're coming up to about 48 minutes on the podcast. So we talked about this is when they go into the holodeck, and we talked about how Saru with Doug Jones gets to be out of makeup for this episode. We had this whole Little Red Riding Hood fantasy world stuff going on here tonight. Sonequa Martin Green as a Trill, Doug Jones in the human role, and Hugh Culber, the Doctor, as a Bajoran. And this was done by the computer of the holodeck because it's kind of malfunctioning. The radiation's been damaging it. And the program wanted to make them look like Federation members, even though they are already, so that they'll be more friendly to Su'Kal, who's the person they're trying to rescue from this thing. But okay, so we talked about a lot of fun. It was kind of a crazy world. I think in particular, Sonequa Martin Green was great in these scenes where she was talking to him, pretending to be the hologram.
That was great.
Because I'm up and down on her sometimes. Sometimes I think Sonequa Martin Green overacts, but she was great in this when she was trying to pretend to be the hologram. She's like, resetting parameters, and he thought, because he's afraid of real people, he's never met real people, so he was much more comfortable talking to a hologram, what he thought was a hologram and something new than anything else.
She was good. She was very good in this episode.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Really good in the last episode too. You know, outside the portal, outside the Guardian Forever. That dialogue was great. She was great as her mirror universe person. I thought she turned it on the last couple episodes.
Yeah, there was that whole monster, that weird thing living in the closet that they were afraid of. There was the old mentor Kelpian guy singing lullabies, and it's very emotional for Saru, right? Because this character we've come to know for 3 seasons, and he was the first Kelpian in Starfleet. He kind of left his people 100 years ago because they were not in the Federation. Now he's 1,000 years ahead, and all the Kelpians are Federation members, and he still hasn't really reconnected with his people, right? So this is kind of big for him, like finding another Kelpian, searching this guy down, seeing all this stuff in his culture. We see in this episode this replay of when Kaminar, his homeworld, joined the Federation, but they're all kind of glitchy and weird, and the radiation's damaging them. Was that Vulcan? Okay, by the question, the whole scene where they find when they join the Federation, that Vulcan admiral hologram that talks to them a little bit. Have we seen him before? I feel like he was in like the first season. Like there was another Vulcan admiral. No? Okay.
The clapping was quite funny though.
They're
Yeah.
clap,
The,
clap,
like,
clap,
oh,
clap.
gratitude. Ooh.
Are you here to save the child? Oh, good. Yes. That was a lot of fun. So
And
then on. Yep.
The crew of the Enterprise, the Discovery, just rolled with everything. Oh, let's just talk to these guys, and we'll make them clap for us, and we'll make them believe us. We'll reset ourselves, and it was just cool how that just seemed to happen. I mean,
right. That could have been like a whole episode on itself. Like it was just kind of like this really fun, interesting world, the quietness, the hushness of that snow world compared to like how crazy it was on the outside with the Tilly storyline and in the ship and dealing with sort of trying to track things down and then trying to get everything ready. Plus Osira and the Emerald Chain are showing up as pirates here to kind of like, take over their stuff. We keep going back and forth. We've talked about some of these plot lines, so I'm kind of skipping over some of it. But can we talk a little bit just about Su'Kal himself?
Mm-hmm.
Dave, you still there?
I think
Dave?
Dave's not here, man.
So they got an interesting looking. I don't know what he looks like under the makeup, but his build is not what I'm used to seeing for people they choose to don the makeup for Kelpians. Like he seems to be built. He looks like he could be rather built. His neck is larger, so and his physique is larger too, which is interesting because you would expect someone who's stuck on a ship for so long, like would he be able to be this bulked up as a because we don't know what a Kelpian would look like with under his conditions anyway, I guess.
Well, remember on the home planet they're farmers, right? So I mean,
yeah, I don't know, he just seemed a lot larger than a normal Kelpian that we've seen on the in other episodes where we've seen Kelpians.
Yeah, this guy who played him was named Bill Irwin, who's a famous clown and comedian and actor, who also played a character in the movie Popeye from 1980. He played Ham Gravy.
Oh, I remember that.
No? You do? No. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, he was a bigger guy, but he's 120 years old, right? This as well. He's and so he's got the mind of a child, but he's also been he's lived a whole life in this sort of environment. So you get like this vulnerability, right, to the character.
You do. He still has the hand waving in the back, like Saru, which was cool to see.
Yeah, like I feel like I don't know how they ended up getting Bill Irwin. I feel like there's probably a story of how Bill Irwin may have even been an influence on Doug Jones, and maybe Doug Jones got Bill Irwin into this show. I don't know for sure, but even he was doing the whole
because he was so fast when he walked around. It was like flop 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 flop. It was cool to see. Like it's like the same kind of movements, but because he obviously his mental age and just the situation he's lived in, he's different, right? So I don't know. There's some character acting that I really appreciated seeing personally.
No, I thought he was great performance. I thought that memorable. I think that you understand why Hugh and Saru want to stay behind, even though I was like, well, aren't you going to die of radiation poisoning any minute now? Like, isn't I thought that was the whole thing, that you had to kind of get in and get out quick.
Well, it's starting to show up too. You're starting to see it now, right? Like,
right. Yeah, you start to see like little redness kind of start to pop up on them and on their skin and whatever. But he's like Sukal himself has somehow survived all
adapted to it,
right? Because his DNA is adapted to it over time. But there's this not. And then we get the Viridian shows up, which is the ship of Osira, and they're staring each other down. We get the whole exchange between Osira and Tilly. We talked about this a little bit already. They're kind of, where's your captain? Oh, you're gonna go. You're a pretender. You're a pretender, Tilly. You're not ready to face me down. Yeah. Interesting. I thought I was a good dynamic. Tilly, she should have gotten out. I think that her command decision is like, I can't leave until I get my away team. At the same time, she knows her ship. She had to probably jump out sooner. Is kind of what this came down to. She had to jump out as soon as she could. All right, as soon as she saw trouble coming. That's the only, I think, from a command decision point of view, the only criticism, because of ultimately the result here.
I'm just curious, would Saru had made a similar decision if it was a different away team down there?
I think anybody would have. I don't think you can say that Tilly's weak for this decision. I think that almost any character would have been written to it. But
she was waiting for Book's ship to go off before she went to Black Alert, and maybe it was a second too late. But
a moment hesitation, or you're trying to win. You're trying to get it all done. You're trying to save the day. You're trying to get your team out. And she slightly miscalculates it. Like I don't think that it's because, oh, Tilly, you didn't know, or you're not experienced enough. But I think that this will stay with the character, and that they'll develop it further.
But we did spend an entire season talking about not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah.
So her decision actually made sense with the theme of or at least the goings on of the season. It fit. Even if
Saru or any of them probably would have made the exact same choice and would have had the same result here. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So for me, what was interesting was that Osira's tech is so advanced, right? With everyone teleporting on board and everything.
Yeah. So they get the jump on them pretty good here. Because they retrofitted Discovery. So why can she beam through their shields, and why were they so?
And they have the mind control thing.
But true, but also, Dave. I mean, they're still trying to figure out what's happening. Didn't one of them ask about the tech? Say, can't we do this, or can't we cloak our? Yeah, was it cloak? Can't we cloak the ship?
Yeah, we cloaked the ship. And they said, yes, we can cloak, but we can't jump while we're cloaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not even sure how this all works yet. Okay. I just think.
Yeah, it's a fair point. They're still asking questions. Yeah, they are new to the tech.
Okay, and I understand they wanted to keep the crew of the Discovery together, but shouldn't this crew be sort of supplemented with 32nd century Starfleet officers, at least a couple?
That's what I thought. That security officer would have joined the ship. I can't remember her name, but
apparently not.
She should have. Now we need her.
Because if somebody showed up today and said, "Hey, I'm from 900 years ago, and I want my ship to like just integrate into today's society," I'm like, I think you need to get reorientated with how things have been going. Because it's
I'm
not
from
quite
900 years ago. I want to join the podcast. No, I don't
No,
think
you.
we're gonna
don't
take
think
your
so.
expertise. Don't tell me who wins the presidential elections or anything like that.
But the whole thing they've been trying to tell us about the show is that these people from 900 years ago, they know stuff that is saving the day. Isn't it just a coincidence that the burn is caused by a Kelpian, and this is like he's the first Kelpian in Starfleet in Saru, and
they found it.
And they found it, and it's a little bit too.
That's okay.
Like,
It's a show.
it's a show. It's fine. It's fine. So,
well, I would argue that the reason why they found everything, because they remember that the episode that they had to go to Vulcan or whatever the planet's called now, I forgot. Yeah, they had to go there just to convince people that, hey, maybe it wasn't your fault. It's a galaxy or a universe that has had tragedy, and they've accepted a way of being. It took someone from a different time with a different perspective, an outside point of view, to come in and shake things up and go, maybe you guys have it wrong, right?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I also think that but it's also in contrast to Star Trek Lower Decks, where you have the crew of the Cerritos, which is the least important ship in the least important crew or whatever. And in contrast to that, Discovery is the most important ship with the most important place in history every season. Like, no ship is more important than the Discovery now. Like, really, when you consider their impact on the Star Trek timeline, and
maybe Lower Decks was a response to that.
Yeah, I'm like, these are kind of like extremes, right? And and if you go back to this, what's originally Star Trek? Okay, like the crew of the Enterprise, pretty prolific. They were the flagship of the Enterprise. Next Gen built upon that, where these were the best of the best in all of Starfleet. So, but one ship among a whole fleet of ships that just like it, whereas Discovery is kind of one of a kind with this technology no one else has, this backstory that is unlike anybody else's. So I don't know.
They were given this in the first 2 seasons, right? And we've had problems with it, and now they're just. So why they threw them in the future? No, it's like, screw this.
It is. No,
let's reboot, because they already have this advanced tech. So let's not use them in the past anymore. Screw that.
No, let's do them in the future. And it's for me, it works much better. Okay, so I just kind of want to talk about when they get the drop on them and they start beaming in. Tilly said she was going to blow the ship up rather than let it fall into Osira's hands. That doesn't work out here. She doesn't even call for the auto destruct, I don't think, right? She tries to jump away, but it doesn't work. Tilly's trying to call down to Culber, or down to Stamets. Stamets gets the slave crown put on him, right? So they ended up, so they're able to take over his mind down in engineering. Just before that, we also had Jet Reno. She gave her comm badge over to Adira. So because now Adira needed the comm badge so they could beam onto Book's ship, right?
But also beam down to the planet.
Why doesn't Adira have their own comm badge already? Why did they have to borrow it from Jet Reno?
Is she Starfleet?
No, but she's a member of the crew.
Book's a member of, kind of, not.
Right. He should have a comm badge too.
Not so, but I think unless you're Starfleet, I don't think you get the special Starfleet badge.
They gave 709 a comm badge. They gave Cass a comm badge.
Different situation.
If Cass can get one.
If Cass can get one, anybody can get one. She was
Different
2 years old.
Man. Difference. I mean, they actually have a Starfleet here. Voyager was missing.
I know. I'm nitpicking, but okay, fine. So she had to. That's how she gets away, or they get away. I'm sorry. And Adira. Adira joins Culber and Saru in the quest for Su'Kal, right? And and Michael Burnham and Book, they are racing back. They're trying to get to the ship to help Tilly, and they jump away right at the last second, and they're too late. And now what? What is going to happen now?
Do you think it's insane that the spore drive could actually also teleport two ships at once when they're linked?
Yeah, it was kind of like to see like both ships like linked together, and the fact that Osiris ship had all these tentacles coming out of it, kind of like a harvester. It was kind of a neat thing to see. Like, it was kind of horrific, and
Her ship was like a giant kraken, no? Essentially, is what they're going for.
Yeah,
So really piratey here.
very piratey.
I like it. Kind of like it.
And what will happen to this crew? And sort of, and
It's reasonable to think that Michelle Yeoh or Giorgio might be back next week.
I don't think it's happening. No, maybe
That would be like some Deus Ex stuff.
Like, or is Vance coming to the rescue with an armada of the Federation ships or something? Like, or are they headed to the Federation headquarters?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what's
they are
the most
headed.
likely scenario? How are they going to get out of this? How are they going to get the ship back?
Some people are going to die. Is how we're going to get out of this.
how would Michael and Saru, how are they going to join them? They've been left behind now.
Okay, so let's say Michael Burnham and Book, who they're going to turn around. Maybe they're going to collect Sukal and the rest of them, right, back onto Book's ship. So then at least there'd be like 5 of them that can try to work something out. They can presumably take the same transwarp hub back to the main Federation space and meet up with Vance and try to figure something out.
But also, if Sukal has the ability to manipulate dilithium, and that's a dilithium planet, could they not fashion something to make Book's ship warp capable?
They could, but even if it's warp capable, warp is still slower than transwarp.
Right. No, that's true.
And it would just take too long. I think they don't give us enough specifics about the
They could
relative
warp to the
geography or
transwarp hub.
the stellar cartography of things, if you will.
I'm just saying they could warp to the transwarp hub, so that speeds it up just a little. I don't know.
They can write whatever they want, really. Like they can write, oh yeah, and then I took a detour.
There you go.
At Bajor, and now I'm here, and we're however they want to do it. Mike, I guess the main thing is, will they have control of the ship by the end of the next episode, or do you think it's going to take because we have 2 episodes left in season 3 here? Is it going to how soon will they get the ship back even before the end of the season?
I predict it's a 3-parter.
Continuing into season 4, like a cliffhanger. For season 3.
I would say whatever they need to wrap up, they'll wrap up in the last episode this season, but there will be some kind of cliffhanger into season 4.
Very possible. I think very likely. Yeah. Every season has sort of ended on a cliffhanger of the Star Trek Discovery, or some kind of new beginning for the show. What do you think, Adam? Will they get the ship back faster or a little slower? You think?
Listen, one thing I liked about this episode of the season is the speed of resolutions, and I hope it doesn't carry on until next year. I hope they get this done. This was season 11, right? Or episode 11. We've got 2 more to get this done. So yes, we could have a 3-parter.
Yeah.
And then
right. And this, and like we talked about, each of these episodes, they're part of a bigger narrative, but they all stand on their own in a lot of ways, and we've liked that. And so I hope that continues. But every week something new.
Question for you 3. Who do you? All right, you got 2 episodes left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Who will not be alive for season 4?
Good question. Of this, well, because now that they've lost Georgiou from the cast, that was kind of like a death, because they said, well, she can never return. We can never see her again. So she's kind of effectively deceased. So that kind of happened in a way. But do you know the character who I think is probably the most expendable on this show is Stamets. I think that his character is easily filled by a whole bunch of other characters.
I wonder if Admiral Lance is going to die in whatever battle's coming.
Admiral Vance. I hope not. I like
Vance,
Admiral Vance.
sorry. I like him, but I'm just wondering.
Adam?
I don't think it's going to be Stamets because he already had that path. We already brought them back and almost dead, and Hugh for sure has been dead. Come back. Tilly, I hate to say it, but she could go.
Oh, I hope not.
My money's on Booker.
On Book?
I don't think he's gonna die. I think if my prediction is right, or at least my well, maybe not prediction. Sorry, one of my theories is right that his technology that he brought onto the ship is the cause of them being found. That he might be kicked off instead, but we'll still see him.
Could it be Doug Jones? Could it be Saru?
That is a possibility.
I think. Look, I think whether it be Tilly's a fan favorite, probably won't be her. Saru is the first non-human captain. I think they're going to continue this path. I don't think they're ready to give him up yet. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is Stamets, but I'd be disappointed there too. I like him as well. I don't want to.
I like them all, but the only reason I say Saru is because Saru, they've had a different captain every season. Season 1 is Lorca, season 2 is Pike, season 3 has been Saru. So will we get it? Season 4 be
unless
Michael
he doesn't
Burnham?
die and Saru leaves to become a parent for Rusakal. Not like I really want that to happen.
Or he leaves Starfleet. Yeah, kind of like Commander Non did a little bit to stay.
Well,
with
more
their people.
like maybe not Starfleet, but still part of Starfleet. But he has a new mission to
leave the
raid
ship at least.
the Dark Phoenix that is Sukal, since he has superpowers.
I'm not a fan of anybody leaving this season.
I don't want.
Happy.
I'm just saying. That was Jeff's question, right?
Yeah, he's saying if they're going to kill off a character, who do we think it would be? And I'm with you. I don't necessarily want to lose any of these characters. I sometimes think they have too many on this show.
Yeah, so the other ones are just like now Jet Reno, they're just giving her one line and she's still in there.
Right. So the show might be serviced by losing a couple characters, but at the same time, they're making it work. So it's not a necessity either. Yeah, I hope they get rid of that Osira. They need to take her out. She's a bad one.
But no, neither of you think that Sukal is going to be like a crazy Dark Phoenix superpowered being?
I suppose so. Yeah, like it seems like that, but I don't know what does that mean for the show, and how are they going to write that, because they usually don't have an individual who's like a nuclear bomb like that. So
well, I would assume he's kind of like an emerging mutant in the X-Men universe where he can't control his powers. So whatever connection he has to dilithium is similar to what Book has with his, I call the Force, where he's connected to nature, right? So for me, it's not impossible that Sukal controls his power and is now able to, I don't know, help the Federation locate more dilithium.
Maybe. Well, it's kind of an interesting question. If you had like sort of a person of mass destruction, which is what Sukal is, right? And the X-Men storylines and Marvel comics have dealt with these kind of issues. Like, where do the rights of the individual end, and where does sort of like the rights of society begin? Because he's sort of a dangerous person who can, like, if you don't kind of contain that threat, untold amount of people will die again. We already have, right? And the suffering that's been inflicted. Because
I assume what's going on is because he's on this dilithium planet, that whatever powers he has is amplified because of the sheer amount of dilithium he has surrounding him. If he was removed from that planet and only around smaller amounts, he may be able to, at least I theorize, control his powers, learn to use them, and now be able to do other things with them.
Potentially, he could.
What would have been a good thing is if they'd found out how the burn happened before they sent Georgiou back in time, because then they could have been like, Georgiou, send a warning or a message or do something to make sure this guy dies across the universe to prevent the burn, right? But no, conveniently, the next episode.
Convenience. So, okay. Well, we've covered the whole plot. So and we're coming up to about an hour, 75 minutes. So we probably have to sign off soon. But more questions? Anything else you guys are wondering about before we wrap it up tonight?
Not me.
No. Okay. All right. Me either. Jeff, did you hear all our answers? We don't want anyone to die, so stop asking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think it'll be the love interest of the main character because that won't last.
They already took away one of her love interests.
I know, and they'll keep doing it over and over. They need new, hot, fresh things.
They've been good with their writing. I don't know if they're going to repeat things.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the lowest I have out of the show this season so far. So I'm really hoping next week turns it around. We see a big.
That reminds me. Let's do our ratings while we're on the subject and bring that in here.
By the way, speaking of ratings, I've been looking at some of the reviews here on IMDb. Not good. A lot of hate coming towards the show, especially this episode. So
I don't care what other people think.
Well, no, that's fair.
That's
hey,
right, you heard me.
That's fair. I'm just saying, like, I was just reading. I was like, I haven't watched the episode, so I don't know. But I just get all these reviews like, out of words, so bad. What are they thinking? I'm just reading these, and I'm just like, oh my god, what's going on?
Well, perhaps I have rose-colored glasses on, but I don't think so. Like, I watch a lot of Star Trek, and
I mean, dude, you have people ragging on Mandalorians, so like,
oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
Let's cancel Baby Yoda because he ate an egg.
Well, how dare he? He's supposed to be vegetarian or vegan.
Okay, so this episode was called Sukal, and
Some high numbers you guys are throwing out here.
Yes, we can see like we haven't the lowest rated episode. Our cumulative score was what last week, 8.6 or 8.5 for the Sanctuary. But these are not bad episodes. Let's
Michael, you're consistent. You're very consistent with.
I am because I just love everything.
At a 9.0.
James, what's your rating?
I tried to give one episode a 9.1, but it rounded me down. So
9.01, I believe. Okay, I'm gonna give this episode. I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I think. Was it Jane? Jane's giving it a 9.
Yeah.
And Michael?
Still 9.
Still 9. Okay. And Adam?
8. I need this to really come up next week.
Okay. No, yeah, you've been on a kind of a downwards trend the last 3 weeks. Or 10, a 9, and then an 8.
I know.
So, yeah, not that that's bad though. It's just it's different levels of enjoyment. The only episode I gave this season a 10 was Scavengers. So there's been all over the place.
If you consider though Terra Firma Part 1, Part 2, it would have been a 9.5. So that's not bad.
I would have honestly given this a 9.5 for the first time like this season, except that where they went with Sukal has me concerned, which is why I took away a 0.5 to go back down to 9.
Okay.
Like they better stick that particular like that needs to have a better landing, because if this is all we get, that's the one for me of this entire season, that would be a low point.
Yep, that's why I'm sitting at 8.
Yep.
Like it's our the average for the 4 of us, because Jane threw a 9 in on this, is 8.9, just shy of a 9 out of 10. Like that, pretty good. Like we can't say the same thing about a lot of the Deep Space Nine episodes we watch each week, right, Jeff?
Well, we're going through the part of the show where it's just a boring episode after a boring episode until we get to the real plot, and that's just what's kind of going on Deep Space 9 and 9ish right now. That happens though with shows. Sometimes the first 2 seasons are like meh. That's why, like, a lot of times with shows, I go like, let's give it 3 seasons. If people are still talking about it, okay, I'm gonna binge it.
That's the thing with Discovery. Discovery, its second season, I think, is a low point for the show, and even though there's some good moments with Pike, and everyone, some people like that season more than I do, but I feel like what the show's doing now is the right thing for the show, right thing for Star Trek, all around. Okay. Anyway, all right. Well, anyway, so let's sign off. It's getting to be a late night. It's a Boxing Day. It's a holiday. Thank you guys for joining us tonight and talking about this. We will be back next week. This is not the last podcast of 2020 because Adam and I will be here next Thursday. Is it for New Year's Eve? We're gonna be talking about the 12th episode of the season. Michael, we will be missing you, but Jane will be coming in to talk about that episode that night as we're all in lockdown.
The day after or the day after because the New Year. No, yes, the day after, the second.
Right. So we're looking forward to that in a week. We're going to be covering that. Also, you mentioned we do Deep Space Nine rewatches on Tuesdays. We do. We're in the middle of season 2 or so now. Get on board with that. On Wednesdays, we do original series where Adam and I, and my dad and Jeff and Jody, we all watch an original series episode. Check that out on Wednesdays, and then we do Discovery. We did Lower Decks earlier in the year, and we do Star Trek Radio Theater, which is on hiatus right now. We just finished up the first season. Listen to all that. We did Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, for our season 1 finale. I really recommend you check that out if you haven't already. And we're going to be back for season 2. We're going to be doing a mirror universe themed season 2. Starting, Michael doesn't even know this, but we're going to be doing Enterprises in a Mirror Darkly Part 1 and 2 to start off for season 2. So first time ever doing Enterprise. And then we're going to be doing Mirror, and we're going to be doing a series of Mirror episodes for first part of season 2. So that's going to be really exciting. Plus, we have our other channels, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, Jeff and I, and Jaemeel. We're talking about Survivor, Big Brother, and all those kinds of shows. Make sure to check that out. And also, we also have Trivial Debates. And tomorrow, we'll be having our next installment of Trivial Debates. Is Jody Simpson will be hosting. We're going to have my son, Eamon Mater, competing, along with Chris Seymour. And from Star Trek Radio Theater, we have Tom Mott Tyrell. We got some great questions that are going to be asked, including what was the best movie adapted from a TV show? What is the best TV show adapted from a movie? In the music category, it's going to be what video game had the best background music? In sports, what hockey team is best at missing the playoffs? In history, who is the most underrated president? And the wild card question will be what video game needs a classic treatment that doesn't already exist? A re-release with a standalone system with preloaded games from their existing library, such as SNES Classic. So check that out at 1:00 tomorrow. And thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Okay, take care. Good night. Live long and podcast, and we'll see you next time.